Steve Chow back here at San Diego Comic-Con for the Nerds of Color Hard Knock Life. I am inside the First Second booth with the one and only Ambassador Gene Yang.
Thanks, Keith. Great to talk to you, man.
It's nice to see you in person again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. It seems like whenever we see each other in person, we're surrounded by nerds.
Right? Well, there's a reason
mode.
for that,
Yes.
I think.
I think you're right.
We're with our people.
Yes, we are with our people.
Yeah, there's always books and there's always nerds.
Yes. Yes.
Not a lot
and
of
that's
Asians,
where we are.
Interestingly.
Yeah,
we never hang out in like
I feel
a team of Asians.
I feel like it's less, right?
It's weird.
And that worries me because you know the big difference between this con and cons previous.
What's that?
Is that they got these brand new security badges, so it's harder to sneak in.
So that why? Only the Asians sneak in.
Yeah, is that why?
I don't have extra badges in my bag. That's what I'm saying. No, so yeah, we're here in the First Second booth. You were signing secret coders here.
I was, yes.
First Second is like your second home.
First Second is my home in the world of comics. Yeah, I do a couple of the projects for other publishers, but this is definitely
because
where I belong.
American-born Chinese, secret coders, as we said, and also Boxers the Same. Everything is here at First Second.
Yeah, everything I do that's creator-owned,
Right.
I do through First Second.
And then things that you don't do creator-owned, you're a dark horse with the Avatar books. And of course, the DC books with new Chinese Superman.
That's right, with Chinese Superman.
Do people call it Chinese Superman or New Superman? How many people are calling it New Superman?
When you say New Superman, people think you're talking about like a new Clark Kent book.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So sometimes you just gotta clarify it. You gotta say Chinese Superman.
So I want to talk a little bit, and we'll talk about, since we're here in the First Second book, of course I want to talk about the next secret coders, but before we get to that, I do want to talk a little bit about Chinese Superman. I'm doing it.
Yeah, you gotta, otherwise people don't understand.
Yeah. Well, because it's funny that I think the last time you were on Hard Knock Life was when you took over the Superman Prime.
Oh,
books,
that's right. I was on with Greg.
With Greg, right?
Yeah.
When it was like two Asian American guys doing Superman, and we kind of jokingly said like the Superman story is, and those of us who've known, we've known each other for a long time. We've been thinking this forever, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The Superman story.
I mean, you guys did Secret Identities kind of based on this idea.
Exactly. And the idea is that the Clark Kent Superman story is an inherently kind of immigrant/Asian American story.
It is.
Now we have an Asian Superman.
Yeah, Jim Lee wanted to go all the way.
No more metaphor.
Do this. Yeah, let's do this thing.
So what was it like when you got the call and Jim said like, "Hey Gene, we want to do a Superman that's from Asia, and we want you to do that"?
Well, I didn't get the call from Jim. It was, from what I understand, it was Jim's idea, and maybe I think it was Jim and Jeff Johns.
Okay.
And they both actually have this vested interest in Asian superheroes. So Jim is a Korean American.
Right.
Jeff Johns is married to a Korean American, and they just want to see it.
And he's actually Lebanese, Jeff Johns.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, he's
that's right.
People forget he's actually a person of color too.
Yeah, that's right. So I got a call from somebody at DC. They pitched this to me, and I was like, no, I do not want to do that. Like, out of all the projects you could offer me, that's the one I least want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So how'd they convince you?
Well, I mean, part of it is Jim Lee's idea, right? And I'm a big Jim Lee fanboy from when I was a little kid,
right.
And I flew to the DC Burbank offices. I had a meeting with Jim Lee. He called me into his office. It took me like half an hour before I could even get a word out, just because I was staring at him lovingly.
Wait, was that the first time you met Jim? Was for
I'd met him briefly, but that was the first extended conversation I had with him.
So even when you took over Superman, you didn't have a conversation with Jim?
No. It was all with the editors that were
interesting.
on Superman. And then also I had a meeting with Jeff Johns. And really, it was those two meetings that kind of I started to be able to hear what the character sounded like. The voice of the character. That's when I felt like I could do it. The reason why I didn't want to do it was I just feel like there's so many weird political landmines in an idea like this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because Superman's truth, justice, and the American way.
Right.
And what does that mean in communist China?
Exactly.
And it's not even communist China today is not the same, right? It's
a lot of people don't even realize that. I think.
Yeah. I think that's true. And that's definitely something I wanted to play with a little bit.
Because I think that's a really excellent point, because I do think that on the surface, and people who may not be politically aware of current affairs, or political science of like Chinese like politics is that this isn't Red Sun. This isn't like
no, it is not Red
Superman
Sun.
grows up in the
you can't. Yeah. You if you wanted to do a Chinese Red Sun, you'd have to set that in like the 50s or 60s.
Right.
Not modern China.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how is this? What was the hook though that you said I will tackle? Like, because the thing too is that this is a Superman in Shanghai. This is not an Asian American.
No.
Which is what when you write your story's about Asian Americans.
Yes.
I mean, Boxers and Saints is a historical story, but like, you are known for writing Asian American
Yeah,
stories.
but definitely I'm approaching this as an outsider, where I have to do my homework. You know what I mean?
Right.
So ultimately, what got to me was number one, I heard the character's voice, and number two, I saw an arc that we could do. So our story is about somebody who is kind of a bully, kind of selfish, kind of a jerk, slowly finding enlightenment. And there are two things that mirrors. Number one is it mirrors Clark Kent himself. Like if you read early Superman comics from the late 30s and early 40s, that dude was a jerk. He always thought he was right. Whenever he would beat up a bad guy, he'd like sermonize at him.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And he'd be really judgmental. He would do really brutal things. Like there's this one book where he takes these slumlords and leaves them on a desert island just to starve to death, and that's how it ends.
Right.
You know. So he actually went through this moral arc where he now is this moral compass, the moral compass of the DC universe.
Right.
So we want our character to mirror that, and that same kind of arc from selfishness to selflessness, from arrogance to humility, is mirrored in the Monkey King, which is like the seminal story.
Right, and which was a huge part of American Revolution.
Yeah. So I make an explicit reference to the Monkey King in issue 2.
Yeah. And then issue 2, from what we've seen, it also introduces a few more Chinese Justice Leaguers. It looks like.
Yes. Yeah.
So how did that evolve from like, we're going to do a Chinese Superman, but we're also going to do a Chinese Batman and a Chinese Wonder Woman? And like, how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, so the way I'm approaching superheroes kind of comes from my own life. So I grew up in a Chinese Catholic church, and Chinese politics, as seen through the Catholic lens, was kind of how I saw Chinese politics. You know, just because that's how the adults around me were talking about it.
Right.
And in China, you know, when the communist government first took over, they were pretty anti-religion.
Right.
They basically you couldn't be any sort of, you couldn't practice any sort of faith, right? And then eventually they realized people were practicing in private. It was something that they didn't feel like they could suppress. So their solution was they created state-approved versions of all the major Chinese religions. All the major world religions. So if you are Muslim in China, you can go to a state-approved mosque.
Right.
If you're a Catholic in China, you would go to a state-approved church, right? And same with Buddhists, you would go to a state-approved temple.
Right.
So in the DC universe, the Chinese have a fascination for American superheroes.
Oh, interesting.
And they want to do the same thing. They want to mimic that, right? They want to mimic that.
Like a Gucci bag.
Yes. Yeah. Or like basketball.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Or
Right.
like
Where
basketball.
they kind of manufacture.
Or like Chinese rock.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
or like Chinese rap.
Right.
You know, and I think a lot of times people who feel disenfranchised by the culture that they're surrounded by will import other cultures in. Right. So in the DC universe, the Chinese government response to all these unsanctioned superheroes popping up in China is to create a Chinese version of the Justice League.
So that's why we have, like, on the cover we see the Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's why we see Batman and Wonder Woman.
So this also opens up stuff here, right? You get to imagine what a Chinese Batman would be.
Yeah. Like my main thing was I wanted the Chinese Batman to be a chubby Asian kid, and they let me do it.
It's like you read my mind. I was that chubby Chinese kid who always wanted to be Batman.
I feel like there's no chubby Chinese kids, right? There are no chubby Asian kids in general. Like there's Up, and then that's it.
Well, and me.
Like in media, there's just we never hear the story.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so now
and the fact that Batman is my favorite hero has nothing to do with me being on the cover of number 2.
He will be a chubby 18-year-old Chinese kid who's kind of a badass. That's
also like me.
Exactly.
So you were giving out to switch gears a little bit, you were giving out copies of the new Secret Code.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So Secret Code was something I've been thinking about for a long time. I taught high school computer science for 17 years. I taught in this really visual way, so I do a lot of drawing on the board. And I always thought, man, a lot of the stuff would work really well in comic book format. And that's what Secret Coders is. I teamed up with a guy named Mike Holmes. He's an amazing cartoonist, so I'm handling the writing. He's doing the art. And we're teaching kids how to program computers.
And so these kids who go to the school, I remember the first volume was kind of marketed as like Harry Potter for
yeah, it's like Harry Potter, but instead of magic, we're doing coding.
Right.
That's exactly.
And then volume 2 is coming out.
Yeah, volume 2, they actually finally discover the school. They finally discover this abandoned school.
Right. The Hogwarts.
Basically the Hogwarts of coding. And the first volume did well enough that we've signed to do 6. Originally, we were only going to do 3.
Oh, so when can we expect volume 2?
So volume 2 is coming out in August. This August. Volume 3 will be out early next year. Volume 4 will be out late next year.
How far ahead are you? Are you in the process?
I just turned in the script for volume 4.
Oh wow! So you already surpassed what you were intending to tell.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. And then you have stuff with Dark Horse, so the avatars are.
Yeah, we got another Dark Horse miniseries coming out called North and South. So if you watch Korra, you know that in the time of Korra, the North Pole and the South Pole kind of have a lot of these weird political tensions, and we're going to show the beginnings of that.
Nice. And what else? Do you have anything else? Because it's as if you don't have enough stuff happening.
So the next big thing I'm doing, like where I'm doing both the writing and the drawing, where it'll take me forever to finish, is a nonfiction book about basketball.
That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, it's like freaking me out to do it, but I'm also like, I'm excited about that project. I am.
What is the time frame for that book?
Oh man, I don't know. I was supposed to be done by the end of this year. I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting kicked out of here. Oh, thank you, Gene, for taking time out to talk with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Keith.
We are going to be on a panel tomorrow. We're going to talk about Super Asian Americans tomorrow.
We are.
Because we are Super Asian Americans.
That's right.
How can people find you online?
You can go to my website, which is at GeneLuenyang.com, GeneLuenYang.com.
And we will talk to you some other time, I'm sure.
That sounds great.
You've been on the show like maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the support.
You should be a co-host. Thank you for tuning in for another report from the Comic-Con floor. We'll have some more stuff for you as you tune into the channel. I'm like falling asleep here. I'm like just babbling. So get out of here. Go away.
Con brain.
Con brain.
Perspective, watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this. This is the hard knock life, but not the chicken kind.